Just your average everyday trucker, keeping it real. I'm your host, Chris Blodgett, and you're listening to Real Talk Tuesday.
This week's topic is going to be losing your almost complete work. This is episode 135. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, appreciate you being here. And of course, apologies for the past 2 weeks not being here. One of these days, one of these weeks, one of my episodes will probably be about a topic of mental health. And the reason for that will probably be, I'm sure a lot of you, a lot of us out here probably have experienced where you have to do something, there's something you have to get done, but you just can't seem to get motivated enough to do it. Well, I'll admit, I have a lot of those. I deal with that a lot myself. In the past 2 weeks, I've definitely experienced that where I try to record at home, like kind of what I'm doing tonight. But the past 2 weeks, because I know for like 2 months at least 2 or 3 months when I first got this condenser mic for Christmas from my wife, so I started bringing my computer down on a Monday night before going back to work on Tuesday and recording that week's episode. But the past 2 weeks I noticed that I'd bring the computer down, bring the mic down, I'd sit here and I'm like, I don't know what to talk about, I don't know what to do, I don't know what topic to discuss this week, and struggling mentally, obviously, just with random stuff. And I'd end up closing the computer, putting the mic away, and be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not gonna do anything. And it's not that I deliberately wouldn't do an episode, but every so often you just struggle, So that's why I think the last episode that I did, because it's more than just the past 2 weeks, it's probably been the past month. But the last episode I think I did, when I was technically out there working it with the Bluetooth headset, and in the past 2 weeks, didn't do one throughout the week, and then was going to do one Monday night, and then just didn't happen. So this past week, literally Sunday night, or Sunday morning when I was almost about, was coming back from Chattanooga, just finished my last load, was on my way back with an empty back towards Nashville, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and throw my headset on, going to go ahead and do a episode recording. And so it's kind of the motivation for this week's episode, which is funny because when I was recording with the headset, there was a different topic, but I was like an hour, about 55 minutes in, so about an hour, not quite, but an hour in, and I was not far from where I was going to close it out and the episode and whatnot. All of a sudden, the recording just stopped. I was like, what the hell? Like, okay, what? So I thought, okay, well, I gotta hit record again, and I'll just have to add multiple parts, when I'm doing my edits and stuff. Hit record, it would record for half a second and stop. Hit record again, recorded for half a second and stopped. And so I was like, okay, that's weird. And it showed two recordings that were like less than a second. So I thought, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and delete those so I don't get confused. So I deleted those, but then I went in there into my recording app on my phone, and all I had was the previous recording from a couple weeks back that I did with my phone. And it was like, well, crap, did I just delete the hour-long episode that I just did? Was that shit? So then I'm looking at, like, looking up online, like, all right, how do I recover a deleted audio file? Because there's technically a recycle bin on the recording app that I use on my phone, but there was nothing listed. Like, even though I deleted a couple things, nothing's in the recycle bin. I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, why is there a recycle bin if you delete stuff? It's just gone. So I'm like, so I was kind of discouraged at that point. I thought, you know what? I thought, well, crap, there's probably not going to be an episode this week because I just recorded one, and I was like mostly done. I would just have to add a little bit to it, and it's gone. There's nothing, like, crap. I can't get it back, whatever. So it's like, well, crap, So, but it's happened before, not necessarily with recording, with recordings or whatever, but like where you're working on and I'm sure you guys have experienced it too, where you're working on a project on a computer or something, and that's, there's a reason why they say save constantly, whatever. Give me a second here. There we go. Just turning off the sound on the computer so that way any notifications I get, you guys don't hear like, oh, okay. Listening to the episode, you guys are like, what was that in the background? So so yeah, it was kind of disappointing because, like, literally the episode I recorded when I was on my way back from Chattanooga on Sunday morning, it was like, oh man, like, I felt pretty good about it. I was like, so then when I lost it, I was like, oh shit, crap. It's like, damn it. Felt pretty good about it, thought it was going to be a pretty decent episode, and then it's just gone. Like, I can't find it anywhere on when I try to do a deep dive on my phone. I even tried at least 2 apps that supposedly can, like, recover deleted files, and the files they can recover, not the one that I recorded. I was like, well, crap. it's gone. It's like, well, shit, So, advice I could give as far as if you're working on stuff on your computer, on your phone, whatever, save constantly. And then be careful when you're deleting stuff, because you might end up deleting the wrong thing, and if you delete it, it might be gone forever. So, but So I guess this will be kind of a joint subject tonight, or topic this week, because I'm trying to remember exactly what the topic was when I was recording Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon or whatever. I guess it was Sunday morning. I tell you, lately, when I work Saturday night, I kind of dread it because, I end up, my boss like, oh, come in 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. tonight. Okay, So I'm like, yes, sir, copy that, But then I, of course, I come in, I pick up 2 empties, I get dispatched out to what we call Lears, which is Lebanon, Tennessee. And I get over there, and they don't have me loaded till fucking 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, well, crap, all right, And instead of just a very simple load, like, hey, we're going to send you a Knox, Kodak, and back to Nashville. No, it's, hey, we're going to send you to Nashville, and then Clarksville, then back here. And then we're going to send you to Huntsville or Kodak at like 4 or 5, 6 a.m., Hell, one week they sent me to East Nash, which is Lebanon or Mount Juliet, and then from there I went back to Lebanon, and then from there I did Knoxville and I did a Nashville and Clarksville, and then back to Lebanon, and then I did a Huntsville, and I got back. I think I made it back to Nashville with like 7 minutes on my 14-hour clock. I was like, oh wow. And then not this week, but last week, I ran a couple of different loads, and then did a Nashville and Clarksville, then back to Lebanon, and then they wanted me to do Knoxville and Kodak, and I was looking at my time, and I had 6 hours on my 14 at that point because of, coming in at 10, not getting loaded to 1. It's like, if you want me to do like 6 fucking legs of the trip, then don't bring me in at like 10 to get me loaded 3 hours later. But we do it. We're drivers. We do what we're told by our managers or whatever. It's like, if I'm not getting loaded by 1, can I come in at like midnight? So I can, grab a set of empties and get out to Lebanon, and I'll still have like 13 hours of my 14. Not come in at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. Get out to Lebanon at 10:40 and be like, well, your load will be ready at 12:30. Well, motherfucker. So, last week, not this previous Sunday, but a week ago, when I got back and I had I got back to Lebanon, and there was like a Knoxville Kodak load, and I had 6 hours of my 14. I was like, I don't know if I can pull it off. I'm pretty sure I could do a Knoxville, but I don't know if I can do Knox, Kodak, 2 stops, 2 different setups. So I went in, I figured somebody was probably had come in at that point at Lebanon. So I went in and I talked to her, and I was like, hey, so, I've got a Knoxville Kodak. I just did a Nash Clark combo. Came back in here. You have me assigned for a Knoxville Kodak. And she was like, I'm sorry, who are you? And like, I'm Logic. She goes, oh, hey. I was like, is it possible for me to just take the Knoxville, because I don't know if I have the hours to do both? She's like, well, Kodak looks like it's not due till tomorrow, so yeah, that's fine. I was like, all right, cool. So I went to Knoxville, and at Knoxville, I was like, it's about 160 miles away from Nashville, 160 or so miles. And I had about 2.5 hours of my, not quite 3 hours of my time, but it's probably 2 hours and 30 minutes. And I was like, well, shit. I was like, I really need fuel, but I could probably wait until I get to Nashville and just fuel when I get to the hub. I made it to Nashville, and I had enough time technically to get back, but then I hit traffic on the way back. So when I pulled into the hub, I was like 10 minutes over my 14. I was like, fuck. So I violated my hours. I was like, well, there's not much I can do about it. They keep, each weekend they keep giving me like way too many legs to do. And it's like, all right, So this week, I got back, did a couple legs, and they got me back to Lebanon. I think it was like 6 a.m. again on Sunday. And they had me set up for a Chattanooga and East Chat. I had 2 trailers, one going to Chat, one going to East Chat. But it's funny because, like, when I was trying to set the dolly up in front of what would be the rear trailer, the trailer, sometimes we'll try to hook the trailers at like way too high. Like the switcher drops it way too high. The previous driver cranked it, like not only dropped it, but then cranked it up even more. So it's like 6 inches higher than the freaking dolly or the trailer or the fifth wheel. And so when I'm, trying to set the dolly up in front of it, and I'm like, there's like half a foot of room between the top of the dolly and where the trailer is. So it means you got to lower it down quite a bit so it'll lift it up. And most trailers, I can, you can manhandle it to raise that or to lower that trailer enough so that when you back under, it'll lift it up off the ground, because that way you're not going to have a high hook. So if you're a trucker, you know what I'm talking about when I talk about high hook. But full body weight on that freaking handle for the landing gear or whatever, could not budge it at all. So and I'm like, oh, it's 6:15, so somebody should be right now. So I bring up the number for Lebanon Lion Haul on my phone, and I call him. Like, hey, Lion Haul, can I help you? I'm like, hey, this is Blodges. Hey, how's it going? Like, hey, not too bad. I was like, you got me set up for a Chat and East Chat run, and I'm trying to set the dolly up in front of the Chattanooga trailer, but it's way too high, and I can't budge it. She goes, what's the trailer number? And I gave it to her. She goes, oh, okay. She was, so you can't budge it at all? It's too high? I'm like, yeah, it's like at least half a foot. I was like, I can't get it down at all. There's no way I can hook up to it. She goes, well, crap. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, what to suggest to you. I'm like, well, when does this trailer due in Chat? She goes, not until tomorrow. I'm like, all right, cool. Is it possible for me to just take the East Chat one? Because initially when I called her, I said, like, hey, I'm assuming that you don't have a yard switcher or anybody that can come out here with a switcher truck, because they have the hydraulics on the fifth wheel, so they could back under something, raise it up, and then we could technically raise the landing gear up a little bit so that way we could back under it. She goes, no, it's just me, unfortunately. I'm like, that's kind of what I thought. So when she's like, yeah, I don't know what to recommend to you. I was like, well, when is this due? It's not till tomorrow. I'm like, all right, cool. So could I just take the East Chat one since we can't do anything with this trailer right now? She's, yeah, it's fine. Okay, cool. She goes, but you're able to take the other one, right? I'm like, yeah. Like, the truck's a little bit higher than the dolly usually is, so I should be able to back under the other one and, get it off the ground and fully hooked to it and whatnot. So I was like, and I thought after getting off the phone, I was like, well, that'll make my morning a little bit easier. I can just get this one East Chat and then grab it empty, come back to Nashville. So I get hooked up to the one going to East Chat, and I'm getting hooked up. I'm going to get myself dispatched on the app or whatever, and I log in. It still has me going to Chat, even though the trailer I'm hooking up to is going to East Chat. So I call her again. I'm like, hey, it's Blodgett again. She goes, hey, what's up? What's going on? I was like, you got the trailer right, but it's still going to Chat. And she goes, oh, crap. So she's like, you know what? I'm just going to dispatch you, and I'll go in there and correct it afterwards. All right, that's fine. I was like, all right, cool. Thank you so much, ma'am. I appreciate it. So I do all my other stuff, the pre-trip inspection, all that stuff. I get out to East Chat. I'm dropping that trailer. And when I check back in at that East Chat location, thinking I'm going back to Nashville, it's like it shows up showing I'm taking a loaded trailer from East Chat to Chat, which is towards Nashville. So I'm like, all right, that's fine. But it shows I'm taking that one in empty. And I try to call East Chat, Lion Haul, nobody answers. Because I'm thinking, well, I brought in one trailer. I should be able to take one trailer out of here. But try to call East Chat, nobody answers. So I call Nashville, and I'm explaining like, yeah, hey, I brought a loaded pup in here to East Chat. They want me to take a loaded and an empty to Chat. I came in here with one. Could I just grab the loaded trailer and go? They're like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll set you up. We'll switch it out. All right, cool. So switch it out, check in again. Brings up the one trailer. And I'm driving around and I'm looking for that trailer and I can't find it. So I look at the location and I zoom out, zooming out because I'm like, where the hell is this trailer at? I zoom out, I'm like, wait a minute, that looks like Lebanon. I'm like, yeah. So I call Nashville again and I'm like, yeah, hey, it has me in there take a trailer from East Chat to Chat, but I think that trailer's at Lear's. I'm like, yeah, it's at Lear's, looks like. I'm like, all right, cool. So I was like, so any chance I could just grab one empty back to you guys, pretty please? She goes, yes, sir. I'll get it set up. I'm like, all right, sweet. Because I'm looking at literally when I was like, seeing the loaded trailer and the empty, and I'm looking at my time. And then I, of course, got it switched to just the one loaded trailer, thinking it was at Chat or East Chat. And I'm going to disconnect from the trailer, and I'm just talking to myself. I'm like, good Lord, frick, good luck, guys. I mean, like, I only have so many hours, and like, you run me from here to 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 Nash and Clark and back to Lebanon, and then East Chat, Nashville. I'm like, good Lord, guys, what the fuck? I'm like trying to keep it together, but I'll like, okay, but so. But then realizing that the trailer that they wanted me to pick up was probably the one that I was supposed to pick up in Lebanon that was supposed to go to Chat, but for whatever reason it added it to me at East Chat. And I'm like, yeah, but that was not here. That's Lebanon. Like, what the hell? So then get that corrected and basically go pick up an empty to go back to Nashville. I was like, all right, thank God. So yeah, it's been fun, but got some changes coming up in the next 2 months, so definitely looking forward to that. But kind of hold off to kind of announce it to some higher ups and whatnot. But I know with the podcast, I definitely wanted to come out here, and even with the technically the inspiration for tonight's topic, where you have lose a file that you mostly have completed. I was like, man, I was totally bummed. After about recording for about an hour and then being close to where I was gonna probably close it out, and then all of a sudden, like, it just stops recording, and I'm like, what the hell? What? And then all of a sudden, like, the file's gone. I'm assuming I deleted it, but it's like the files I had deleted, I could have sworn they were like empty files, like they hadn't recorded at all, but it's like, crap, did I delete the hour-long recording I just did? And it's gone. And there's nothing I can really do about it. I guess when you delete from that app, it's just gone. Like, well, crap. So shit, all right, but I kind of wondered after that happened, I was like, well, am I gonna get another recording in, or am I gonna have another week where I just, take the week off and I'll just come back next week? But I was like, no, I'm gonna try to, do what I can and stuff, and not do anything this week. But so this week was pretty interesting because sorry, popping, because holding the condenser mic in my right hand, and of course I switched hands and then popped my elbow. It's like, it's like, but so this past week, Thursday, I had my wife had an appointment for technically an outpatient surgery on Thursday at like 8:30 in the morning. So Wednesday, I messaged my boss, and I kind of told him, I was like, hey, my wife has an outpatient surgery on Thursday at 8:30. I'm her driver, so I'm expected to be there. So if they could have me set up with like a Knoxville Kodak or something simple, then that way I could get back early enough to where I could be available to do it. He's like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, we'll figure something out. All right, I'll see what I can do. And Wednesday night, he's like, oh, so they're gonna send you to Cookeville, and then probably either another Cookeville or Nash Clark combo. Like, so that way you get back on time. I'm like, all right, cool. I did a Cookeville, and then I kept calling Nashville saying like, hey, so what are you gonna have me do after this? And they're like, we don't know. Like, just check with us when you get back. I'm like, all right, So after doing Cookeville, and literally taking my time, I'm like, well, if you guys aren't telling me what I'm doing, then I'm not gonna rush. Like, fuck it, like, fuck you. I get back to Nashville, or I'm getting back to Nashville like 4. After coming in, he told me, yeah, come in at like 10, 11 o'clock, or 10 o'clock, and then I was still waiting on the driver that was in my truck. And so she didn't get back to like 10:30, 10:45, so I was, basically hooking up at like 11:30, and it was like getting out to Cookeville like 1:30, and it was like, made it back to Nashville like 3:45, 4 o'clock. And I'm like, all right, like, I checked in, didn't have anything to sign, so I said, I'm not gonna beg for a loan. I was like, screw it, I'm gonna go home. So I got home, kind of hung out for a little bit, for like 2 hours, took my daughter to school, went upstairs at like 6:30 in the morning, laid down, didn't go to sleep, but I figured lay down, put my, tried to de-stress a little bit, and my wife had her alarm set for like 7:30. So it's funny because I laid down like 6:30. She temporarily woke up and looked at me all worried, like, "Oh my gosh, like, oh my god, you're not going to bed, are you? You're not going to sleep, are you?" I'm like, "No." I was like, "Love, calm down, relax. Like, I'm just laying down. Like, I'm not gonna throw a mask on, not go to sleep. I'm just laying down in bed, so that way I can kind of de-stress a little bit. So I know I'm gonna be up for a minute. Gonna be up for a while." She said, oh, okay, good. She rolls over, falls back asleep. Probably doesn't remember even having that conversation with me. So 7:30 rolls around, her alarm goes off, she gets up, and 8 o'clock we go ahead and leave. We head to the of course, like, I try my best to not do anything with energy drinks. Like, I do coffee on my shifts, but then, or like, I'll do like Mountain Dew if I'm desperate or whatever. If I'm really desperate, that's when I do freaking energy drinks. But so I went ahead and grabbed one of the energy drinks that she had in the fridge, sipping that on the way to the hospital. We got there 8:15, 8:20, checked in. They brought us back there to the room, got her in the bed where they're gonna wheel her back. We're sitting back there, and of course the nurse coming back there turned the temp down on the thermostat because we're like back there. Like, I took my reflective hoodie off, and she was laying in the bed, like, uncovered herself because she was roasted as well. And the nurse is like, sorry, like, and they turned the temp down, and it didn't make a difference. It turned out like 60. It was still like 85 in the fucking room. But we're back there to like 11:30, and they finally, like, there's like 6 people that came back, 6 different doctors, like an anesthesiologist, a surgeon, the main doctor, a nurse, a couple other people came back, asked her the same questions. Like, so what are you here for? Okay, so blah, 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 what's your birth date? I don't remember all the questions, but basically they're the exact same questions that each person asked. It's like, I thought that's really interesting. Like, you've already answered this like 3 times yet. There's 2 more people that have come in the past half an hour. So 11:30, 11:40, they finally, all right, cool, you ready to go back? We're gonna, so they finally wheel her back, and I'm thinking I'm gonna have to stay in this room and wait for her, But I think I'm like, do I wait here in this room? And they're like, no, the waiting room's out there. I'm like, oh, okay, so I have to wait for her at the main waiting room, but you call me back in this room while you're waiting for her to get her prepped and ready for surgery or whatever. I'm like, that's interesting. I was like, why not keep me in the main room where we're at? But I'm like, all right, that's fine. It was hot back there, so I was cool with going out front. But I come out and I'm like, so do I grab her stuff or do I leave it here? What's going on? No. We'll take it to the recovery room. That like you're good. Just go out to the recovery room, and the doctor will call you when you're ready for you to come back to recovery. I'm like, all right, cool, thank you. So I go out to the recovery room and I'm like, I've been up since yesterday at 3 p.m. It's now like the next day at like 11:45. Still awake. I haven't slept. I had some coffee. Had a little bit of a energy drink that when we went up to the surgery care center in the hospital, I left the energy drink in the truck in the parking garage. So when I went out there, I was like, all right, I got lost in the hospital for a little bit. Figured, well, let me find like a vending machine or something, get like a snack or a drink or whatever. Found a Subway, a little cafeteria area. Oh, cool. All right, so got a 6-inch meatball sub and got a Mountain Dew and like a large Mountain Dew or whatever, and basically like ate the food, refilled the Mountain Dew, went back to the waiting room, and basically was just hanging out on my phone. And literally probably 2 hours later, at least at 1:45, 1:30, 1:45, I get a call, and of course it pops up saying surgery care. I was like, all right, so it's like, hey, this is Dr. So-and-so. I'm just calling to, like your wife's, like Erin's out of surgery. She's in recovery. Like she's, the infection was a lot worse than we expected. A lot more pus and gunk and whatever came out when we made the incision. I was like, oh, okay, and he's like, so, she's gonna be in a lot of pain for a minute, but after a couple days we'll take the stents out and she should feel a lot better. I'm like, all right, cool, thank you, doctor, I really appreciate it. You know how it is, no surgery is without risk. So he was sitting there in the waiting room, and I'm like, going, well, I'm glad she and I, like, I made sure to, when I had the disability back payment get set up officially with the VA or whatever, I was like, well, I'm glad we're both set up with life insurance. So I was like, if should anything happen to either of us, we're covered. But obviously, even with having insurance, you don't want anything to happen, So, but I was like, in that waiting room going, you always think to yourself, you're like, well, I hope the news I get is good, not that, well, like, we had a complication, we tried to bring her back, but, So, I was glad to be getting the news I did that, yeah, she's fine, and, they'll be calling you in the next 45 minutes to bring it back. All right, cool. So like an hour went by and I'm still like just scrolling on my phone trying to keep myself alert because I'm like, I'm tired as hell. I've been up for 24 hours. And instead of getting a call, this random nurse comes out from the back or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm looking for Mr. Blodgett. I'm like, I look up. I'm like, yeah, I'm right here. And so, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, come on back, please, sir. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm confused because I was told I was going to get a phone call. It was like, has the doctor contact you, whatever? I'm like, yeah, he told me you guys are going to call me. Like, it's kind of weird that, like, you're coming out here calling my name out, Oh, no, we don't call you, whatever. I'm like, well, that's not what the doctor said. So She's like, yeah, when she first got back to recovery, when she first woke up, she's crying and blah blah blah. I'm like, huh, okay, and I'm of course like I'm trying to like retain what she's talking about because of course it's important. But then I'm like, man, I've been awake for like over a day. I was told this, but then you showed up out here calling my name, so I'm a little confused. But so keep back there, and my wife is back there, kind of like half awake, in the bed still in the recovery department, and so I'm standing beside her, and of course, like she gets her up, gets her dressed, and hands me a bag, which I assume is her stuff. Like, but they told me when they grabbed, yeah, we'll just put her stuff in the bag. I'm like, all right, cool. I didn't even look. I should have, but they put her in the wheelchair. We'll walk out to the parking garage. I pull the truck around, and then they help her get in the truck, and we leave. We get all the way back home, and we're going back down to like the Kroger to get her to the pharmacy to get her stuff, her meds. And she looks at the bag, and it has a couple items, but doesn't have her stuff, like her purse, her hoodie, her phone. Nothing of her personal stuff. I'm like, fuck. I was like, all right, well, we could run back to grab it, and then we can come back down here and get your bed. So just drop me back off at home. I'm like, all right. So I take her home. I help her into the recliner on her side of the couch, and I go upstairs, and get her upstairs, or rather get her on her her recliner, and I go upstairs, and I'm thinking my oldest is working, but I get up there, and of course she's in the game room, and I'm like, hey Allie, I was like, hey, can you hang out with mom downstairs? Told her what's going on with the stuff. Like, yeah, they didn't give us her stuff back. Apparently still at the hospital. I have to run back there. It's like, can you hang out with her downstairs and make sure she's okay? Because they recommended somebody with her for the first 24 hours. So I had called my boss when I was driving back home with my wife, and I was like, hey, do I have PTO hours available? Because they want somebody with her for the first 24 hours. She's pretty out of it. My boss was like, yeah, you have about 15 hours, which we use like 8 hours per day. I was like, cool, could I go ahead and apply 1 day's worth of PTO? Because, I'll be back tomorrow, but if I could use it tonight, he's like, yeah, I should have plenty of coverage tonight. You should be good. So, just do what you gotta do. So I ran all the way back to the hospital, got her stuff. On my way back, of course, my oldest texted like, Ma really needs her meds. And like, I know. I was like, I've got her stuff. I'm on my way to the pharmacy now. That's my next stop. Just do what you can to just be there for her. Pick up her meds. At the pharmacy, of course, like how she, like, because they, based on the prescription, like, does she have surgery today? I'm like, yeah, she did. Like, how's she doing? I'm like, not great. But, I was like, once I get these meds, hopefully she'll be better. Getting home thinking, all right, I'm going to might crash for a couple hours and then get up and hang out the rest of the night. But I didn't go to sleep at all. Like, I literally was camping out down here, with my wife. And, she's putting on different episodes of different shows that we're watching. And there's quite a few occasions where, because she couldn't breathe because it was a nasal surgery, but she had, like, it was a lot more infected than the doctor was expecting. So throughout the night, there's a lot of occasions where, you know, she's trying to breathe through her nose and she's really frustrated and she's crying and upset, whatever. And all I can do is get up and like walk over to her recliner, and basically like I take her by the hand and I'm just like give her a hug or whatever, and I'm tearing up because I'm like, you know, as a spouse, as a significant other, you know, you're just like, well, crap, like I don't know what I could do, like I don't know how I could help, you know, close to breaking down, but not really, you know, just like you tear up because you're like, I'm so sorry, like I know it's I know you're miserable, whatever, and I'm like, she's like, I just can't breathe through my nose, it really sucks. And I'm like, well, the doctor did tell me that like you're probably gonna be mouth breathing for a few days, you know. And she's like, I know. She's like, I'm like, oh well, you know, like I whatever you need, I'm like, I'll do what I can. So about like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, like we just got done with an episode, and she was gonna put another one on, and I was like, love, like we have to go to bed, like I've literally been up for like 32 hours straight. I was like, I don't know how much later I can stay up, like let's go upstairs and at least try to sleep. So we went up there, and I think we both fell asleep fairly quick. Like I know I passed out quick, and I had set my alarm, it was like 11:30 at that point. Set my alarm for 9:30, thinking that's like 10 hours. Should be able to get up at that, you know. When I woke up, when my alarm went off at 9:30, she was already out of the room, and I fell back asleep. I don't think I woke up till like 12:30, and I think the main reason why I think I got up was because I'd been asleep for like 14 hours at that point. And I guess easiest way to describe it was like I had to go to the bathroom so bad that my body was like, yeah, you're waking up. Like either you're gonna wake up or you're gonna freaking soil the freaking bed. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm getting up. But having slept 14 hours, I felt pretty good, so got up, did what I got to do, got dressed, came downstairs. My wife was down here, and she's like, yeah, I only slept like 4 hours. I'm like, oh crap, I'm sorry, love. But hung out with her for a while, and of course, like I had to work that night. Would have loved to take that night off, but like worked Friday night and into Saturday morning, and then was like, I think when I got off Saturday morning, I was dead ass tired. I was like, as you could tell, like when you go from not sleeping for over a day to then you have a regular night of sleep, but then it takes you a little bit to recover from that. But by Saturday, she's doing a little bit better, but still struggling, you know, because her nose is constantly bleeding. It's funny because like when we were in the room before surgery, they were the doctor was telling us like, oh yeah, or the nurse before the doctor came in, she's like, yeah, so Afrin, you know, nasal spray, like you want to use that, like it keeps it from bleeding, it stops the bleeding. We're like, okay, cool. You know, after the surgery, you know, we get home and the paperwork says do not use Afrin until after you get stents out, which is like 4 days after the surgery. It's like, you know, technically tomorrow morning is when she gets stents out. But without using Afrin, her nose was like constantly bleeding, and she's like, I can't sleep, like I'm constantly, you know, just blood coming out my nose. This really sucks. And I was like, I'm pretty sure when we were in the room, they were telling us to use Afrin to control the bleeding or whatever. So I don't understand the paperwork. So they called her 24 hours after the surgery and to check in how she's doing. They told her like, yeah, you're supposed to be using Afrin like on a regular basis, like, you know, to control the bleeding. And we're like, why is the paperwork so we don't know? It's like, all right, you know, so that's kind of fucked up. All right, you know. So, you know, then she starts flushing her nose, using Afrin, and things are a little bit better. She's getting a little bit more sleep, but not much. And then by Sunday, she's doing a little bit better. And then today, it sounded like she wasn't bleeding anymore. She slept a little bit. She's been getting a little bit more sleep. And so, but today, like, she's not bleeding anymore, but she said she had, like, she's having a lot more pain in her face, like her nose or whatever. So she goes in tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning to get the stents removed. Cause she's like, I just want to be able to blow my nose. I'm like, yeah, it has to be tomorrow, love. She's like, I know. So it's one of those things of like, not really, I guess, when it comes to, like, I'm hesitant to do a whole lot of, like, medical stuff when it comes to, like, surgery, inpatient, whatever, because, like, yeah, but, like, what if I can't do such, or what if it limits me here, what if, hell, she just got surgery on her sinuses, and, like, she was not dealing with it very good. A lot of pain, a lot of difficulty, whatever. But yeah, so at least we're on the mend now. So, but then of course dealing with cold bugs going through the house. Like, after getting off yesterday, getting home at like 1:30 in the morning, or 1:30 in the afternoon, 1:30, 2 o'clock, and I was like, do I wait to do groceries, or do I go ahead and take care of stuff now? Because usually I take care of stuff when I first get home, so that way I'm like, I'm not gonna worry about this later. Went and got my adult beverages, and then texted my youngest, and basically was like, do you and the grandkiddo want to, I'll pick you guys up, we'll go to Aldi's, we'll get groceries. I was like, or do you want to do it tomorrow? And she's like, well, like, I really want food now, but I understand that you've literally been up all night and all morning, so I'm sure you're tired. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to go out tonight. So let's go ahead and do it now. So grab food for myself, stopped at, Jack in the Box, got like tacos or whatever, tacos and egg rolls, and then stopped at Bojangles, got my youngest or 2 chicken sandwiches, and then came home, and then found out that my wife had ordered Happy Meals for my grandkiddo and my youngest. So basically everybody had food. So, but and then we went ahead and ran down to Aldi's, and I asked my wife, I was like, do you have a list? Like, do you, like, what do we need? And she's like, well, she gave me like 5 items, chicken nuggets and blah, 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 a couple other items. I'm like, I'm planning on spending like $300 to get groceries, because I know, like, the fridge is bare, the deep freeze is bare, or it had stuff, deep freeze had some stuff, but the fridge is pretty bare. We needed milk, cereal, we had plenty of eggs, but we were pretty out of a lot of stuff. So I was kind of budgeting for $300, and picked up the youngest and the grandkiddo, and we went down to Aldi's, and I wasn't just going off the 5 or 6 items that my wife gave me. I was like thinking, like, all right, we're gonna get like some veggies, we're gonna get some chicken and ground beef, and we're gonna get like some pasta and pizzas, and going all out, like getting some carrots and ranch and onions and whatnot. It's like stocking up, literally. And we get, like, we have a full cart. We get up there to check out or whatever, and like, I'm worried because I'm like, well, I budgeted $300, but the cart's pretty full, so it might be over that, whatever. And it comes like, it's like 85 items, like $230. I was like, oh, cool, all right. My kid was like, how much was it? And I'm like, yeah, like $200 and something. She's like, for all that stuff? But yeah, she was all like, crap. Like, I thought that, like, it was gonna be a lot more than that. I'm like, yeah, me too. But that's why we keep down here, because I was like, I want to make sure there are even items that, like, you know, we didn't really go there with a full on list, but there was just, there was stuff that where she's like, hey, could Alex and I, get such and such. I'm like, yeah, go for it, grab it, I was like, we're literally stocking up. We're getting the full grocery trip. We're doing, we're getting everything we got to get. Want to make sure that we're good for a little bit because I know we've been bearing groceries for a little bit. So go ahead, It's like, all right, cool. Thank you, Dad. I'm like, yeah, no problem. But we get done. She's like, I'm surprised it's only $230 with how much we got. Like, yeah, no, me too. But so because we've been doing a lot of like ordering food, ordering takeout a lot, getting DoorDash delivered and getting paid this week. It was like, you know what, like we got some big stuff coming up in the next 2 months, so we let's plan ahead a little bit. Let's go ahead and get some groceries so that way we can try to save some money, try to put money aside for what we're trying to take care of. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. So anyway, y'all, I could go on and on for a while, but gonna try to close this episode out. But you know how it is. As always, really appreciate you guys for being here. Believe you can, believe you will, and you're already halfway there, and then you just have to go out there and do it. I know I still got to get the main blodgeshow.com website back up, so I apologize for anybody if you listening to this episode. You maybe tried to access the website. Of course, it pops up saying like website inactive or something. That's kind of why. But I know by like June, sometime in June, I will be getting everything, 100% back active again. So, but anybody that wants to support the show, please feel free to email me at blodgeshowpodcast@gmail.com. I will give you another avenue for how you can financially support the show, whether it's a PayPal link or a Cash App tag or something, but I know for right now I do have the support link still works, but if you go to blodgeshow.com/support, because the blodgeshow.com website is technically down at the moment, it may not work, but the support link actually is through my podcast hosting site, so not the blodgeshow.com, but it's actually who I upload the episodes to. So it's a little bit of a longer, they're a little bit longer website links, so it's a little bit harder to try to give you on this these recordings. So, but keep being positive, keep believing, keep pushing forward. Do what you have to do until we can do what we want to do. But on that note, I hope you guys are doing well, and as far as like on a mental health basis or whatever, just keep trying, just keep getting back up, keep pushing forward, doing what you have to do. It's tough sometimes, but as long as we don't quit or give up or walk away, then we haven't failed. That's why one of the episodes that I'll probably do will probably be on mental health or whatever. But, I wanted to come on here at least this week and try to at least get one recorded, because I know it's been a few weeks and I don't deliberately skip a week. But, when it comes to like mental health, sometimes it's just, you come up to a period where you're like really need to do it, but really struggling to be motivated, don't know what to do, don't really feel like doing anything. So you end up just like, sometimes it's better just to, take care of yourself, like self-care. Like, even if it's, hey, I'm going to throw a series on, gonna throw a movie on, gonna enjoy a couple drinks, gonna hang out, whatever. Hell, even taking a little bit longer rest break, like try to sleep a little bit longer. You know, do what you have to do, like take care of yourself, you know. And if that means that you can't, especially if you're a podcast host like myself, and you end up, you can't do another episode or a project or whatever you're working on for at least a few more weeks because you got to do other stuff just so that you can just get by, that's fine, you know. You gotta do what you gotta do, you know. And even with that, just remember, you haven't failed, you know. So anyway, guys, on that note, I really appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in with me. If you're dealing with some stuff and you're struggling like I've been the past month or whatever, struggling to try to make keep making moves in the direction that you got to move, feel free to reach out, like bloggershipodcast@gmail.com, and would love to shoot, go back and forth with you. But never give up on what your dreams are. Keep working towards those. So on that note, guys, as always, appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. And I am working on some ideas for possibly getting some stories out there so we can start getting some Storytime Friday episodes. I don't know if it's going to be anytime soon, but I am, trying to come up with some stuff. But you guys are awesome, and I appreciate you being here, and I will talk to you next time. Oh, but stay tuned, because I'm working on a new segment, kind of a real chat segment. Not sure what to call it yet, but I'm thinking about calling it like raw chat, since I'm all about keeping it real, no bullshit, no lies, no whatever. But I've been kind of thinking for a while about trying to have like real talk conversations with random people, either trucker friends, non-trucker friends, whatever, and including them on this podcast as another segment. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy. And for any recommendations as to what we might call this segment, I know right now I'm thinking raw chat. Send me a message, bloggershowpodcast@gmail.com, and let me know what you think. So this first segment is with my good friend David Goldberg, who's another trucker friend that I know, and also another author. Has a couple of, probably about 3 or 4 different books that he's written. He had to publish, but but it took a while to finally figure out how to do a recording on a phone call, and then it ends pretty suddenly at the end because not a very good connection. So I apologize about that, but hopefully in upcoming segments of the raw chat Blogger Show podcast episodes, hopefully they'll be better. So anyway, enjoy.